And welcome back to episode 21 of the Roll the Tape Sports Podcast. I'm Jacksen White alongside
Aidan McNally
and Jalen McKissick.
So today we're going to be talking about the NBA play-in that just happened this last night as we were recording this on Wednesday. And of course tonight we're going to be previewing some NBA play-in games. And then of course this is our official playoff preview, as in we kind of had one last week, but this one is the official one as we know where teams will land. Despite there's two playoff play-in games tonight, I believe, but we'll preview them, and I think we know who's going to win.
I think we know who's going to win.
But also, just playoff picks and all that. X factors for each series. And the last question, has the Warriors Dynasty finally come to an end?
And, of course, we have the traditional NBA start bench cut.
And, of course, follow our socials all at Roll the Tape Sports. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter for all updates. Make sure to follow those socials. We're always active.
All right, so let's just get right into it and roll the tape. Here we go. Play-in tournament is underway. Games happened last night as the Lakers took on the Pelicans, and, well, the Lakers advance. They will be the 7th seed in the playoffs this season. The Pelicans will have one more chance, I believe, Friday night to keep their playoff hopes alive. But the Lakers just won in a defensive battle, 110-106. LeBron James had 23 points. Anthony Davis had 20 and 15. And D'Angelo Russell did his thing as well with 21 points. And the Pelicans, you look at it, Zion Williamson probably had his best game as a pro. 40 points, 11 rebounds. Brandon Ingram did not step up, 11 points. C.J. McCollum, 9 points. They did have 3 guys off the bench with over 10 points, but just was not enough for LeBron James and the Lakers. And the Pelicans will be playing Friday for I think it's a single elimination game for the 8th seed with a chance to go lose to the Oklahoma City Thunder. So, as we look at it, this game here, 110-106, what are your guys' thoughts? Defensive battle, low-scoring game for both these teams.
Yeah, I don't think anyone really brought their A game offensively into this one, except you could say D'Angelo Russell shooting 5 for 11 from 3. Great game from him. Also, Gabe Vincent, shout out Gabe Vincent, stepped into that role on the bench there, 2 for 4 from 3, looking like Miami Heat 2022 Gabe Vincent there. But yeah, I think the main thing with the Lakers here is that everyone chipped in. Davis had 20, LeBron had 23, D'Lo had 21, Reeves even had 16, Rui Hachimura had 13, so all of their starters put up double digits. The only thing with them is just how bad they shot. Anthony Davis, 6 for 16 on the night. LeBron, 6 for 20. D'Lo was really the only one who shot well in this one alongside Rui and Austin Reeves. And then you go to the Pelicans, and this game was just all top-heavy scoring-wise. Zion, 40 points in his first playoff atmosphere there. 17 for 27, hit 6 free throws, 11 rebounds. So he had a 40-point double-double in his first playoff-esque game. And if you want to, look at it this way, after Zion got hurt with 3 minutes left, I think that's really the reason why they lost this game. I think if Zion
was just on another world in this game.
If Zion stays in the game, I think we talk about the Pelicans meeting up with Denver next week because of how dominant he was. Obviously, he went out with that hamstring strain and, 40 points. He was really the only guy really putting in all the work for the Pelicans.
He just scored half their points.
And back to the consistent scoring with the Lakers, how they had 7 guys in double digits. It was really only Zion making all the noise for the Pelicans. Once he got out, there was really no one for the Pelicans to step up, and I think that's why the Lakers are going to be moving on in the 7th seed. But I still think the Pelicans will still have a great shot at winning that next play-in game against the Kings. I think they showed a lot of signs, but very tough way for the Pelicans to lose this, especially at home. Just tough luck with Zion, and I think it'll be a great game against the Kings moving forward.
Yeah, watching that game last night, it was really apparent that Zion was the only real benefit for that Pelicans team.
Brandon Ingram just
disappeared. One thing about Brandon Ingram, I know that he is still on a minutes restriction because he just came back off an injury.
I get that.
So I know he's not 100%. He's not 100%.
11
I don't
points.
know. I forget. It was like the leg injury, right?
Yeah.
It was leg injuries.
It was like a knee injury.
It was like a leg or knee injury. Those injuries bother you for a while.
I mean, yeah, but
4 for 12 isn't
11
acceptable.
Points.
I know.
You're an all-star, Brandon Ingram. You
but
need to step up.
One thing I did see is that he didn't play. Even when Zion went out, he was still on the bench. That coach was sticking to that minutes restriction by a T. If Brandon Ingram comes in and Brandon Ingram by himself attracts so much attention because of how good a scorer he is. Even if he's having a bad game, he still has the ability to go out there and score.
I think you look at it like this, okay? So obviously Brandon Ingram's on a minutes restriction, but I don't think that this game did not seem like it was an elimination game for the Pelicans.
I think it did.
I don't know.
For everybody else on the court, it did.
I don't know. I just think if you're an elimination game.
I think C.J. McCollum was worse than Brandon Ingram by far.
I haven't even talked about him yet.
C.J. McCollum was
C.J.
terrible.
McCollum had a terrible game.
Terrible game. C.J. McCollum was one of the big reasons, probably the main reason why the Pelicans didn't win.
They went out and got McCollum to be that guy. Obviously, he's played in Portland for a good while. They got him to be this guy to step up in these moments.
Yeah.
And you look at it, 9 points. Obviously, he's one of the only players in this team that has necessarily playoff experience. Because even though he's never won a championship or anything, people forget the Trailblazers went to the Western Conference Finals a few years in a row.
Yeah.
Or they lost to the Warriors a few times. So just kind of disappointing, only 9 points. He did have 6 assists, but just Brandon Ingram, 11 points. I know he's on a minutes restriction, but
I think he'll play full next game. He has to.
He has to. I mean,
he has to.
This could be the last game.
This was a game that was in the last 5 minutes. He didn't see a single second of playing time, even when Zion went out.
I thought he was showing coming in.
That just doesn't make sense.
They still kept Bi on the bench, and Bi is supposed to be that guy you go to. He is the most efficient mid-range scorer in the league.
Your minute restriction set on 25 minutes, okay?
Yeah.
But you got a minute left. You're down by 2 or down by 4.
I mean, him playing one more minute. Him playing one more minute isn't going to affect him.
I know he's not going to. I mean, he's the best shot maker on this
team. Yeah,
by far.
And especially when your best player goes out.
Mm-hmm. And Zion, he was going on.
And your third best player is having a bad game. I mean, a terrible
4
game.
4 for 15, 1 for 9
9 points, negative 17 plus minus. That's a terrible game. You have to put in Brandon Ingram. I think the mindset of can't think of the coach's name right now.
What is?
I think the mindset was that we know that even if we lose this game, we have one more shot. So why put Brandon Ingram in, risking another injury when our best player is already out, possibly for next game, which he is now. Why risk an injury when we have another chance?
Wait, Zion's out Friday?
Zion's out Friday.
Oh, they're done.
I think they can still beat the Kings.
Nope.
I think they have a chance.
They're done.
If Brandon Ingram and C.J. McCollum come out, they can score with the Kings easily.
Yeah, and I feel like, I guess we'll get to it here in a second, but I feel like the only reason the Kings are moving forward is because of an outlier performance from Keon Ellis. But one thing I do want to say about the Pelicans is another name we're not really talking about who kind of disappeared in this one was Jonas Valanciunas. 1 for 7 from the field, only had 4 points in this one. Usually he's a guy that can go up. Yeah, usually he's a guy that can go out and put a double-double up on any night, but he kind of disappeared in this one, and I feel like he only had 20 minutes, but
they brought Larry Nance in.
The issue with Jonas Valanciunas against the Lakers is Davis is just so much faster than him.
Yeah,
so that's why you have to bring in Larry Nance Jr. because even though Davis is obviously going to dominate against him too, at least Larry Nance Jr. in fast breaks can keep up with Davis.
Yeah,
because Davis was scoring a lot on fast breaks.
Yeah,
Valanciunas against smaller centers sucks.
He's not.
They did the same thing. I remember when we went when me and Jackson went to the Pacers game.
Valanciunas only played the first quarter.
Only played the first quarter because Miles Turner was cooking him,
eating him alive.
So they brought in Larry Nance to come play the center minutes because he can at least keep up with Miles. He might not be as big, but he can keep up. And Jonas Valanciunas, whenever he's going up against a smaller center, it's just not good for him.
It's just cake. I mean,
it's cake. It's easy.
Valanciunas would have been a phenomenal center 15 years ago.
Yeah,
like he would have been so good 15 years ago. But just now, it's just his game just doesn't necessarily. It doesn't. I don't know how to say it, but it's his game just does not work in this current era against certain players.
No.
And as we saw that last night. Moving on to another game that happened last night, and well, this one right here was interesting to say the least. The Sacramento Kings took on the Golden State Warriors, and I think we're going to have a little bit to say about this one. Sacramento wins in a blowout, 118-94. Keegan Murray had himself a ball game, 32 points, 9 rebounds. Domantas Sabonis did his thing, 16 and 12. De'Aaron Fox had 24 and 6. And Keon Ellis, a guy who I did not know existed before this game, had 15 points and also has a funny Twitter account. So just an all-around dominant performance by the Kings. But if you look at it, they had 3 players off their bench score, and only 2 guys off their bench who actually scored who played minutes in the actual game. They're very top-heavy for the Kings, to say the least, in this one.
Yeah, 118-94, just Keegan Murray, whenever he opened up the scoring with 3 straight threes, getting the first 9 points of the game, whenever Keegan Murray's on like that, you know it's going to be a dogfight through the rest of the game. He was on fire. Keon Ellis, a name here, 3 for 4 from 3. He had 3 steals, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. He was kind of doing everything. He also played the most minutes out of everyone, surprisingly, on this Kings roster, up there with Keegan Murray and De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox, not the best night. I mean, 24 points, but 2 for 8 from 3. He had 6 assists, which isn't terrible. But if you look at it, Sabonis, 16 and 12. Harrison Barnes had 17. Keegan Murray had 32. De'Aaron Fox had 24. Keon Ellis had 15. That's all 5 guys yet again in the starting lineup, just like the Lakers, who had double-digit scoring with great defensive. They had 4 guys starting who had at least 2 steals, so forcing a lot of turnovers. For the Warriors side, I feel like there's one person here that obviously is going to get the main storyline of this one. Klay Thompson.
Somebody smells like
back.
32 minutes. 32 minutes, 0 points, 0 for 10 from the field, 0 for 6 from 3. This guy is not going to get that max contract thinks he deserves.
Just thinking about it, just on a little side quest here. Klay Thompson, this is probably his last game as Golden State Warrior.
Probably. Almost 6 minimum.
Man. Going out like this is sad.
You see him after the game where he was like taking it all in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, man,
he knows he's gone after
I wouldn't even take it all in after scoring 0 points. I'd just retire. I mean, Klay Thompson going to be a Hall of Famer when he's all said and done.
Yeah.
He will be. But I think Klay Thompson's career as a star or even a player who's going to play 30 minutes, I think is over. I think once he had those injuries, and I knew he'd never be the same player again, and it was pretty obvious on defense that he was not the same player. And then offensively, whenever his shot's not falling, I mean, he's just useless out there. And as we saw this season, whenever his shot wasn't falling, and they were not good. And, 0 points here in 32 minutes. So, yeah, not that good for Mr. Klay Thompson. And Stephen Curry only had 22 points as well. And just I don't know. Chris Paul only had 3 points in 18 minutes.
Yeah,
Obviously, he's
Chris
like
Paul,
80 years old, but
he said he's coming back next year, though. He said it's not done. He said he still has more in the tank.
My bad.
Somewhere.
And,
he's a free agent, by the way.
Hey, Chris Paul on a really good team off their bench is scary.
Yeah.
Chris Paul to the Lakers.
I mean, that's what he was supposed to be this year off the Warriors. It's
Chris Paul
team was
to
so
the
disappointing.
Thunder.
To the Thunder will be crazy. Or reunion.
I would like Chris Paul in a Thunder uniform backing up Shea.
I would love that.
That would be, I think
Back
that would
where
be
it all
really
began
cool
for Shea.
because I really like Chris Paul in OKC. But Andrew Wiggins, 12 points for Draymond Green. Trace Jackson Davis got the start in this one, but only played 11 minutes. Sabonis was eating him alive there in that first quarter. But the question that I'm going to lead into, as we're going to talk about what's going on tonight in a minute. The Golden State Warriors, obviously, are a team that has won 4 championships since 2016. In 8 years, they've won 4 of them. And, of course, there's the big 3 of Curry, Thompson, and Green. And I have a question for you guys. Do you guys think that this is the last time those 3 take the court together?
Yeah.
Those 3, yes.
Those 3, yes. Curry and Draymond, probably not.
So you
Klay,
think Draymond stays in Golden State?
Unless he retires. I don't think he leaves. I think
When is his?
He's
a free agent.
He's a free agent, yeah. I don't think he leaves, but
I think there's only one place he goes.
What, Indiana?
No.
I've seen a lot of Draymond in Indiana. From not just
Who is
Pacers
saying
fans.
that?
Not just Pacers fans, just in general.
I mean,
Because the way he can pass and the way Haliburton passes,
I mean, it would work.
he would be like a secondary ball handler, basically.
But I think there's only one team he goes to.
What? Don't you think
The
so?
Lakers.
Oh my goodness.
I mean,
Lakers can't get everybody now.
Well, I mean, Draymond would take a pay cut to be with his best friend.
Best friend.
His favorite player ever. I mean,
Yeah.
Draymond Green. I wish I had someone who talked about me as like Draymond Green talks about LeBron.
James. Yeah.
Because, man, it's just something. But I could see him going there. But, yeah, I would have to say I think that the dynasty is over. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think this is Steve Kerr's last year as head coach of the Golden State Warriors?
No.
No.
I think
feel
Steve Kerr's a job as long as he wants it.
I mean, he cemented his. I mean, you can't just fire
Bill
a guy
Belichick
who's won
left.
4. Yeah, but Bill Belichick also had 2-3 straight years of just flat out awful
Bad.
seasons.
Well, I mean,
Steve Kerr, this is his first time missing the playoffs, and
3 years.
yeah, like
Well, that one doesn't count though because Curry was
Curry's
injured.
hurt.
Curry, Clay were all
that little
out.
gap between the Durant leaving and when they won was pretty bad. But
I mean, that just proves that season, that 2021 season,
I don't know.
was a fluke
Does this,
because they won this championship like the next year.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal run in 2022 by the
Definitely
Warriors.
was.
But just looking at this team, I think it's a bad coaching job by Steve Kerr in this one. I mean, I don't think they played the right way to win this game. I don't. I just when Thompson's out there just bricking shots left and right and giving you nothing on defense, I mean, I don't know why he's out there.
I mean, it's really no one else that they have though, other than Moses Moody played really well today. I mean, last night Moses Moody had a really great
Moody
day.
in there. Obviously, Kuminga's a good player. For some reason, he came off the bench, even though he played mostly center in this game.
Well, Draymond played center.
I mean, yeah, they both played because Kuminga's taller than Draymond.
Yeah, I think, but they had Draymond.
But I mean, you look at it, I think their biggest issue is the rebounding. They just couldn't get a rebound.
Well, they've always had a problem with the center spot.
Yeah. Always. Hey,
Always.
But what about Looney? What happened to him? Last year in the playoffs, remember he was going crazy?
Apparently
versus the
Looney's been
Kings?
bad this season.
I know, he's been really bad. And that just doesn't make sense because he was like him last year
He was him.
for a little bit. But I think the Warriors dynasty is over. I think the rebuild is now. I think you can still build around Stephen Curry. I think he's going to be a guy who plays into his 40s.
You think
Yeah.
so? I don't know if he has the will to.
With his ability to shoot like that, and I think he's chasing ghosts at this point in his career. I think Stephen Curry plays into at least his early.
He has
40s.
2 years left on his contract. He has this season and the season after.
How old is he now?
Next
35?
season he's 36.
He's 36.
So
He'll be
that's
38.
38.
He'll sign another extension.
You think so?
I could see him signing like a 3-year deal.
I don't
I
see
could
him
see him.
Unless his team
his
around him
game-
is awful.
His game can translate.
If they don't make the
playing
playoffs
like
for the next 2
41.
years, if they don't make the playoffs for the next 2 years, I can see him retiring.
Man,
If they have like no sign of even like sniffing the playoffs, like if they like don't make the play in the next 2 years, I can see him retiring.
hey, there is a squad he said he would play for.
Who?
The Hornets.
Oh yeah, to end off his career, I can see him signing like a little like 1 year deal with the Hornets because he was born in North
But that's
Carolina.
that'd be bad. It's just like Tony Parker. Why'd you leave the Spurs for 1 year to go
It's
play
like
over
Michael
there?
Jordan to the Wizards.
Yeah, but like Jordan was like the owner slash
Owner-
GM, so
GM
that
of
makes a
the
little
Wizards.
more sense. It's just like Curry going to like the Pistons for rent. Like, obviously, the Hornets has connection with his dad. And
Yeah,
he's from North Carolina, but
I mean, I can see him signing like a little 1 year,
but
not
why?
fairy
Why
tale.
tarnish your legacy? There's not too many players that stay on one team their whole career.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what I think. I think he retires a Warrior.
A Warrior.
for sure.
I mean, I definitely would say he retires one, but I mean, I don't want to see him on another team. But I definitely could see. I could make a runs for him going to the Hornets.
I think he plays these last 2 years out on his contract and then retires.
I wouldn't be surprised if that happens because he's already has all the records, the 3-point shooting
Yeah.
records. I mean,
four
it's just-
four chips is more than enough.
Four
Four
chips,
chips, two
I mean,
MVP.
I mean, he's arguably the greatest point guard of all time. I think he's the greatest point guard of all time.
I
think
would say
he's-
so, too.
I would think so.
I think
yeah.
he's past Magic Johnson.
Whenever you think of point guard, you think of a guy who passes, and obviously Magic Johnson is there. But when it comes to point guard, which Stephen Curry is listed as a point guard, I think he has changed the game way more than anyone else, and I just think he's the best point guard ever. I don't
Yeah.
think anyone has ever been so scared to play a point guard other than him. I think he's been the scariest point guard to ever play.
And I think the thing that I find most interesting is whenever NBA players go on podcasts, who's the player? Who's the hardest player to guard that you've ever guarded? It's
always
75% of the time it's Steph Curry, which is ridiculous.
Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant, and Paul George, 3 of the hardest guys to guard
Paul George.
in the
I've
NBA.
seen Carmelo Anthony too,
Wow,
just
that
because
guy
of
was
his
just a
mid-range
bucket.
pull-up.
He was just a bucket.
Yeah.
It don't matter where
But
he's
yeah,
at. In
I
that
think-
15 feet in, automatic.
I think Clay's gone. Draymond is probably a 50-50 on leaving.
I don't think I think he might retire.
I think
too.
Steph.
I see it.
Steph.
He looks pretty old.
I know because he did say like on his return that he was considering retiring after his suspension or during his suspension.
I think he just said that to be like, oh.
No, I think
he actually did contemplate retirement.
I mean, I
I
don't know
don't
why
think
he's just
he
such a
will.
goon all the time. Like I just don't see the reason why.
I don't know.
I think Clay signs with a new team. I think Draymond he might. I don't think he retires. He will sign another
I
contract.
don't think he signs with a new team.
if it's
I
if
think
it's 2 years, 1
Dre
year,
and Clay
3
are
years.
both linked to the Lakers.
He signs a
There's
new
no way Klay Thompson
contract.
goes to the Lakers.
Steph,
I
he's
think so.
obviously gonna. Steph's obviously gonna play out his contract
Is-
until he's 38, and I think he's probably gonna sign another one for 1 or 2, 3, probably 2
I don't
years
see him leaving
max.
Golden State.
I don't see him leaving Golden State. I think Kuminga and Moody are two very
have to
important
build
pieces
around
to
them.
build
Mhm.
around because Moody, like we saw in that 2022 run, whenever he got playing time, he made it count. You see it again here in this playoff-esque atmosphere. 15 minutes, 16 points, 50% from 3, 5 for 8 from the field. He is that guy to step into that. He's a guy that you want to keep if you're Golden State, especially with Kuminga there. I mean, the fact that Kuminga stepped in to such a role is amazing for him. So the dynasty, I would say, is officially over. but they still have the pieces to be a good team. That's what my final opinion is.
If the young players show out, yes.
Yeah.
Hey, but why does no one think Klay Thompson to the Warriors makes any sense? His
What,
dad
Klay Thompson to the Lakers?
Yeah, I mean,
I just don't think the Lakers want him.
Also, here's the thing. I think we also get overshadowed by the fact that this team is a 10 seed. This team almost had 50 wins this year.
oh yeah,
If
the
this
West
team is
insane.
planted, if this team is planted in the Eastern Conference, I think they have a spot in the playoffs already. I think they are the 6th seed.
What was their record?
46 and
Well, they
36.
would be the 7th seed.
Yeah, they'd
because
be the
Indiana
7th
has
seed.
47 wins.
Yeah, okay. So they'd be the 7th.
That's how difficult the West is nowadays. It's just
Yeah.
it is what it is.
I mean, you
But-
can literally have 50 wins and not get a playoff.
Yeah, the
spot.
Kings only lost 2 less games this year than last year, and they were the 3 seed last year. Now they're 9, fighting for a playoff spot.
It
Yeah.
just tells you how much talent is in the league right now.
Oh yeah,
And yeah,
And
there's
at
only
least-
more coming next year.
And yet,
Ja's coming back.
Yeah.
Wemby's gonna be
I
better.
thought you meant like the draft class.
Oh no
Like,
no
one's coming to
I'm
now.
just I just mean like teams are gonna be better next
I
year.
might even get drafted.
just shows how crazy the West is.
But moving
And yet,
along.
OKC's a cakewalk in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, this is the battle to who's going to lose to them. But play-in tournament tonight. There'll be 2 games. It's the Eastern Conference version of this play-in tournament, and the Miami Heat are going to be taking on the Philadelphia 76ers. And I think this is the game of the play-in tournament.
Yeah.
I think this is the most important game of the play-in tournament. And both these teams, obviously the Heat, coming off going to the NBA Finals and losing obviously to the Nuggets, and the 76ers are coming off a season where obviously Embiid has been hurt this season, but was the reigning defending MVP until there's a new one announced. So this one is going to be close. I want to see who you guys are picking for tonight's game as the Heat take on the 76ers, I believe, in Miami.
It is.
It's
No,
in
it's
Philly.
in
It's
Philly.
in Philly.
It's in Philly,
Never mind,
yeah.
excuse me.
So here's what I have with this game. So I've already given a pretty decent basis on this. If you go to our TikTok at Roll the Tape Sports, I actually posted about the 76ers today. And if you look in there, I said I think Philadelphia is a top 4 seed disguised as a 7 seed. Obviously, Embiid being out, that injury has obviously made them fall all the way down.
Oh, yeah.
And if Embiid stays healthy the whole season, I think this team is a top 3 seed easily, at least easily a home court advantage.
I mean,
home court
you're
advantage
telling me
seed.
if Embiid plays, they don't get 3 more wins? I
Yeah.
think if Embiid plays, this team is the 2 seed.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I think as well. I think that this will be a close game. I think Philadelphia takes this one. Just the strength of Embiid, how much he brings to the table, how much attention he draws from the defense. I don't think we've seen a player draw more attention from a defense in a long time. I think Tyrese Maxey, I actually saw this on Twitter a few days ago. When Tyrese and Embiid play together, they have the highest win percentage in the league. So as long as both of them are healthy throughout the playoffs and in this game especially, I think they're both they both got the green light to go tonight. I think this isn't really a game. I think Philadelphia will take this by double digits. Now I know Miami Heat. They're very good in playoff settings.
Bad man down
But
there.
I don't
in
know.
Miami.
I just think the strength of Embiid, obviously you can tell that his injury hasn't taken too much away from his game. He's still averaging 30 since his return. Give me the Sixers.
So since you've been talking, I've been looking around. The Heat have never played Embiid this season. Embiid's been out every single time that the Heat and Sixers have played, and the Heat are 3-1 against the Philadelphia 76ers this season. But even saying that, every game has been close. No game has been more than 7 points
Wow.
in any of the games, except for one. The Miami Heat won 129, 101. That was once, and that was like a couple weeks ago. We don't count that. So I think
Yes, sir.
I think that those games being that close with just Maxey, Kelly Oubre, Budward, and Paul Reed as the center shows how good the Sixers team is even without Embiid.
Yeah.
Now you bring Embiid back into the fold.
So you guys are picking in 76.
I'm picking the 76ers.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go with the crowd since for our playoff picks, we all have to have the same teams. And 2 versus 1 anyway. But there's a man looking for revenge tonight in the name of Jimmy Butler.
I think Butler wants to play the Celtics bad. I don't think he wants to play the Knicks. I think he wants to play the Celtics.
Yeah, but I know he doesn't like Philly at all.
That's
He
true. He does hate
really does
Philly.
not like Philly.
He
and
does hate Philly.
So And there's a certain thing he does when he gets in these playoff settings, and he just turns into Michael Jordan 2.0. And I'm going to say, at least my pick, I'm going to take Miami to win tonight. But I will say these will be the playoff seeds. So as we go forward, the 76ers are going to be 7, and the Heat are going to be the 8.
So we're not even going to question who's going to win that Bulls Hawks game, because whoever wins is going to lose anyway.
I mean, we can talk about it for a second. I'll touch on it right now. I mean,
okay.
So let's just say the 76ers win. So the Heat move on down here. Hawks versus Bulls. I just want you guys to pick your picks real quick. I'm going to take the Bulls.
I'm taking the Hawks.
I will take the Hawks in this one just because their ability to stay with such good teams. As we saw earlier, they beat the Celtics this year.
By the way, the Hawks got beat by the Indiana Pacers by 40 points not even a few days ago, with also playing their starters the whole game.
Well,
so
Clint Capella didn't play.
That. Oh, okay.
I think Atlanta. I think Trae Young is just too much for Chicago. I know. I'm
out for the year.
I'm a go.
He said DeRozan.
I think Trae Young is. I think Trae Young's star power alone is probably better than anyone on Chicago. Maybe DeRozan's up there with him, but I think the ability that Trae Young has to take over a game, I think it's beyond in Chicago's control. I'm gonna sound like Anthony Edwards here, though. They might have Trae Young, but we have Alex Caruso. I think there is a chance Alex Caruso could shut him down, but I don't know. Trae's just one of the most creative players in the league offensively. If he gets that pick and roll going with Clint Capella or a guy like Jalen Johnson, I think.
Johnson's out.
Oh, Jalen Johnson's out. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Give me the Bulls by 15.
Even with a guy like Bruno Fernando, he's a good pick
Bruno
and roll.
Fernando is
no
crazy.
way, Bruno Fernando just made it
on
to
the pick and roll.
On the pick and roll, he's great.
On the pick and roll.
As a player, not so much. But
they have the shooters. DeJounte Murray also, his ability to take over a game. We've seen that various times. Bogdanovich. Obviously, he's going to get his. So I think the Hawks have a little bit more pieces and experience than the Chicago Bulls in this one. I'm going to take the Hawks, but these are just two such mid teams. I think it can go both ways, but right now I'm going to lean towards Atlanta to take this one to face Miami in that second play-in game.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that. I'm going to take the Bulls by 15.
Bulls by 15? I mean, I could definitely see that happening.
But I'm taking Miami over any team of these two, and I would think you guys agree.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I think Miami's leagues and bounds above.
So
I think these teams are closer to the Heat than you guys might realize if you really look at the matchups.
A lot of these teams are really close,
yeah.
but I just think Miami.
I don't think Jimmy Butler would let anything that. He wouldn't let that happen.
He wouldn't let the Bulls or Hawks come into Miami and beat him.
No. Not in a single game elimination.
Especially if he has a chance to go play Boston.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh,
he's foaming at the mouth.
He's dropping 6.
He's licking his chops thinking about playing Boston first round and knocking off the 1 seed again.
But moving along now to the final game of the play-in tournament, which has already been decided what will happen. Kings versus Pelicans for the chance to go lose to the Oklahoma City Thunder in the first round of the playoffs. I'm going to start, and I'm going to pick the Pelicans because I've been doing some research since we started the podcast, and the Pelicans have beat the Kings 5 times this season. And the Kings have been favorited in all 5 of those games. And Zion and Brandon Ingram did not play in a few of them. I'm going to take the Pelicans here because, I don't know. I would normally pick the Kings, but after doing research, the Pelicans seem to have their number this season. And I think if Brandon Ingram's not on a minutes restriction and he has a big game, I think they have a chance. But I think it's really dependent on Brandon Ingram. And I think C.J. McCollum has to do a little more than 9 points. But I'm going to take the Pelicans.
For me on that, I think C.J. McCollum, that was a bad game. I don't think he shoots like that again in the rest of this whole postseason. That was a abysmal performance. I don't think he shoots like that ever again. But for that reason, I will take the Pelicans as well. I think it all comes down to matchups. I think Jonas Valanciunas is one of the better paint defenders in the league to counter Domantas Sabonis. Obviously, Sabonis is going to get his double-double. There's no denying that. But,
he always gets that.
But Jonas Valanciunas will take him out of the game in some moments that Sabonis would usually take over in. With De'Aaron Fox, yet again, they have a guy like Herb Jones, a great perimeter defender.
They match up really well.
They match up way too well against the Kings. They're 5-0 or 4-0 against the Kings this season, and I think their matchups is exactly why that is. I think if BI, obviously, if he's hitting, I think this isn't even a game. I'm going to take the Pelicans in this one to go ahead and play OKC in the first round of the playoffs.
Well, I guess I'm being outvoted here because I was going to pick the Kings, or I still am going to pick the Kings because I think with Zion being out, BI maybe still not 100% healthy. CJ McCollum coming off a stinker. I think CJ McCollum will come in there and light it up. But something about the Kings and what they did to the Warriors, I mean, it wasn't even close. That Warriors team was bad, but this Kings team, what they did, they went out there and dominated first quarter through the fourth quarter. And I think they'll do it again, possibly. I know you said Jonas Valanciunas can shut down Sabonis. I don't know.
I didn't say shut down.
Well, okay. You didn't say shut down, but you said he could stop him in some moments. Sabonis is like that against any center.
That's true.
I feel like I've seen Sabonis back down and be Jokic.
I don't know.
AD with relative ease.
The reason we're talking about even the Kings being in this game right now is because Keegan Murray had an absolute heater. He doesn't play like that again.
I don't think he does.
He doesn't play like that again. Klay Thompson.
Klay
Thompson doesn't play like that again. They met the Warriors on their worst night possible, and the Kings had Keegan Murray.
It looks like the Kings had their best night possible.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So I don't know. I think the Kings. I don't think they play like that again, and I think the Pelicans played worse than the Kings and still won. Wait, hold on. Yeah, the
Pelicans lost.
The Pelicans lost, but the fact that they played that good and lost, I don't know. I just think that they're going to be too much to handle for the Kings, especially Keon Ellis isn't playing like that again. Keon Ellis isn't shooting 75% from three. Keegan Murray isn't dropping 32. I don't know. Obviously, Fox, he'll probably drop a 20 bomb or even a 30 bomb, but I don't know. I just think the Pelicans match up too well against
I think
the
if the Kings bench shows up, I mean, nobody on their bench scoring over 10 points is kind of crazy. I think
crazy.
I think the leading scorer was Trey Lyles with 7. But if their Kings bench doesn't show up, the Pelicans bench is way better. It clears them by a lot. But if the Kings bench can show up, Davion Mitchell, Trey Lyles, Alex Len coming in, get some rebounds or something. I think the Kings can pull it out. But I can see the Pelicans in a world if CJ McCollum plays good, Brandon Ingram comes in, drops more than 12 points. I can see the Pelicans blowing them out. But I think the Kings still pull this one out.
All right, so in our books, the Pelicans advance to the 8th seed, and the Heat will be the 8th seed, with the 76ers being the 7th seed. So let's get right into it. Playoff picks. I believe the games start this weekend.
Yay! Yeah,
so,
Saturday.
Yeah, I think the Pacers play Saturday as well.
No, Pacers play Sunday.
They play the 21st, which is a Saturday.
They play Sunday.
No.
I swear they play Sunday.
They play the 21st.
Don't try.
Saturday.
That's a Sunday.
I'm pretty sure
it's
a Saturday.
I'm pretty sure it's a Sunday.
21st is a...
21st is a Sunday, buddy.
It is? I just looked at my calendar earlier today. That is insane.
That is a Sunday.
What? Let me see this again.
Sorry, a little segue.
Yeah. I can't read. But yeah, segue out of that. Now we're going to go through and make our picks, make our playoff picks. Obviously, games will still be going on next time we meet next Wednesday to record this episode 22 or 23. But we're going to be making our picks, and we're going to stand by them as we go. So let's just start out with the top seed as the 1-seeded Boston Celtics, who are 64-18, would take on the 8-seeded Miami Heat, who are 46-36. And I think it's as simple as this. I think Jimmy Butler has one of those amazing performances in one of the games, but I think he only has one of those performances. Give me Boston in 5.
I'm going to go Boston in 6. I think Jimmy Butler is going to do everything he can to stay in the series and win the series. But even then, I think his best is not enough for the Boston Celtics. This Celtics team is one of the best teams we've seen in a while. I'll take Boston as 6.
Yeah, Boston's won the season series 3-0. I'm taking Boston in 6. I think Jimmy Butler pulls off a couple of good games in Miami, but I think Boston clears them in 6.
Even if Jimmy Butler plays well, it probably won't even result in a win, if we're being honest.
I mean, Terry Rozier has his moments. Tyler Hero has his moments. Bam has his moments. But I think Jimmy Butler will be consistent. Those other 3 need to show up.
There's just too many guys who have way more moments on Boston.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Moving along now to the 7-seeded 76ers, who are 47-35, taking on the 2-seeded New York Knicks, who are 50-32, one of 2 only teams in the Eastern Conference to get 50 wins. I'll let Aidan start on that one.
This is going to be a great series. I think this is, a series that I could see, these two teams meeting up in the Eastern Conference Finals if they didn't meet in the first round. But I'm going to take the Knicks in this one. I feel like Embiid.
What in? Knicks in what?
I'm going to say Knicks in 7. I think this series goes to 7. I think Mitchell Robinson, the Knicks getting Mitchell Robinson back is going to be huge for the Knicks in this series if they want to take care of Embiid. Now that they have Hartenstein and Robinson healthy, they're going to have that front court stamina. I also think that the Knicks just have better scorers. I think Jalen Brunson's one of the best scorers in the league, if not a top 3 scorer in the league. If you could argue, especially recently, averaging 33 points per game in the last month of the season. I think Jalen Brunson's going to be too much. I don't think the Sixers have the front court defense to keep up with him. And I think the Knicks just have better pieces with Josh Hart, DiVincenzo, a couple two-way players there. OG Anunoby is going to be huge in this one. He completely turns the table whenever he's healthy for the Knicks. So I'm going to take the Knicks in 7, but it will be close.
I'm going to take the Sixers in 6. I mean, not 6. Sixers in 7. I think with Embiid getting back, hopefully he's 100% healthy. The way Kelly Oubre Jr., he's the X factor for this team. Kelly Oubre Jr. has been averaging, I think, almost 20 points per game the last month.
Mm-hmm.
He has been hot, and I don't think they're going to put OG Anunoby on Kelly Oubre. So if they have someone else on Kelly Oubre like a Dante DiVincenzo or Josh Hart, I think Kelly Oubre still averages close to 20 in the series. Mm-hmm. Tyrese Maxey's another name who's just been offensively insane this year. Runner-up, probably the runner-up for MIP. So I'm going to take the Sixers in 7 just because I just think their team's been playing way too hot lately. And the Knicks, when Jalen Brunson's not on, they can sometimes fizzle out. I know DiVincenzo has his moments, but other than Dante DiVincenzo and Jalen Brunson, no one else on this team's really giving you 25 plus.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna say 76ers in 7. For the sole reason of I don't think there's anyone on this Knicks roster who can contain Joel Embiid for a 7-game series. Obviously, I think Hartenstein will have his moments. I think Robinson can have his moments against Embiid because they're both pretty solid defenders. Robinson being a pretty good defender, to say the least. But I think Embiid is just – I think he walks through this team. I think he's kind of been resting. I think he's more healthier right now than he's ever been entering playoffs because he's had rest. He's had a lot of rest.
Very true.
And he's coming in rested. They've won 8 straight games, and that's the biggest winning streak in the Eastern Conference by far. The second biggest winning streak in the Eastern Conference is, well, the New York Knicks, who have won 5 straight. But I don't know. I'd say Brunson and Maxey, to me, kind of match each other. Obviously, I think Brunson is the better player, and he gives you probably 5 more points a game. But I think Embiid gives you 15 to 20 more points than any center that the Knicks have, and I think it just comes down to that. I also think a big guy in this series could be Buddy Hield. I know that we like to talk bad about Buddy Hield because he is the worst defender I've ever seen in my life and cannot hit a house whenever he needs a shot. But besides the point, I think if he is hitting his shots, and he's still one of the best three-point shooters in the league when he's on, I think he's going to be really big. And like you said, Jalen, Kelly Oubre, he's averaging, I think, 19 points, almost 20 points per game in the last 15 games, I think. And I think he's going to be the key factor besides Embiid when it comes down to it offensively, because I think Maxey's going to be taken away, and they're going to attempt to take away Embiid. And I would say Oubre or Hield is going to be the guy to step up, and I would say one of them do.
Yeah.
But moving along now to probably the most exciting series in the Eastern Conference when it comes to beef, you could say, as the 3-seeded Milwaukee Bucks, who are 49-33, are taking on the 6-seeded Indiana Pacers, who are 47-35. And this series is going to be interesting. Giannis Antetokounmpo will not play in the first game of this series and possibly not even play in the first 2. It's rumored he could be possibly back for Game 3 in Indiana, but I don't even know if Giannis plays in this series. I think Indiana wins in 5.
Wow.
5? Okay, I'm a Pacers fan. I don't even think we're going to win in 5. I'd say not Giannis. What am I talking about? I think the Pacers win in 6. I think they split the games in Milwaukee, even if Giannis doesn't play.
I would say 5 because I'm confident, but I would say 6 is more fair. I do think Indiana wins the series.
I think Indiana wins the series, but I think they split the games in Milwaukee. They come back, win the 2 in Indy. That's 3-1. Bucks go back.
They go win in Milwaukee, and then they beat them in Indiana in Game 6.
Yeah.
I could see that.
I could see that. That's what I'm thinking. But if Giannis plays more, if he only misses the first game, I can see it's definitely going to 7. If Giannis misses the first game and comes back for the rest, I can see it going to 7.
I personally don't think Giannis is going to play in the first 2 games. I think Indiana gets out on a 2-0 run. And then I think they go to Indiana, and I think they drop one there, but I think they win in 5.
Either way, Giannis doesn't play 100% in this series.
No.
With a calf strain, Those are not anything to
And for some
deal
reason, the Pacers know how to stop Giannis.
with. Yeah.
Other than
Well,
his
I don't
career
know about
high.
that.
I don't know. He did have his career
He's
high.
averaging 45 against the Pacers this season. But
I'm not saying they know how to stop him to make him not average 40. Yeah, he's going to get his 40, but when it comes down to it, in the clutch, they've played really good defense against Giannis this season.
Here's the thing. Is Giannis being out the first one or even two games is, I would say, basically decides this series for you. I think the way that the Pacers have shut down the Bucks, the way that they match up against the Bucks, what are they, 4-1 against the Bucks in the regular season?
Yeah.
4-1.
So, I don't know. I think Giannis being out potentially the first two games just puts the cherry on the top for the Pacers in this series. I'm going to take the Pacers in 6. Or no, I'll take the Pacers in 7. I think this does go to a 7-game series just because of Giannis's performance in the playoffs. You can never count out playoff Giannis, but him being ruled out in that first game and potentially even the second game, I think the Pacers would already take the series if Giannis played in every game. But being out those games, potentially 2 games, I don't know. Just not a good look for the Bucks. Give me Indiana in 7.
Yeah, the Pacers will be without Benedict Mathurin in this series as he is out for the remainder of the year. This season, he's averaged 20 points against the Milwaukee Bucks, so that's something to monitor. But the Pacers recently have been playing really good basketball. I think Miles Turner's playing the best basketball he's ever played in his career.
Yeah.
In this last month stretch.
Plus, the Pacers never played the Bucks with Pascal Siakam. So.
Yeah, and I think they were 4-1 without Siakam. And I think the Bucks don't have anyone to guard Siakam if Giannis is not there.
Oh, well, okay. If Giannis isn't there, yes.
Yes.
If Giannis is there, they're going to put Giannis on Pascal Siakam.
Yeah, but I don't think if Giannis is not healthy, especially in game 1 and 2, I think Siakam has over 30 in both of those games.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know who they started for.
Bobby Portis?
Maybe Bobby Portis.
But that's cake. I mean, I'm sorry, but Siakam's dropping 30 on
Siakam's
Bobby
too fast for
Bobby Portis. Yeah.
In the paint, I would say Portis is a good defender for him, but the fact that Pascal, typically gets the ball in the post or even the perimeter, I think Pascal's too fast for Portis.
And obviously Haliburton's been struggling of late, to say the least.
But then he'll be being guarded by either Malik Beasley or Damian Lillard.
And we've seen what Haliburton has done when it gets to them this season. So, yeah, clear-cut favorite Indiana moves on. In our final matchup in the Eastern Conference, until we move on to the Western Conference, this is going to be a fun series of 2 really young teams.
Most underrated series.
I would have to agree with that. The 4-seeded Cleveland Cavaliers, who are 48-34, are taking on the 5-seeded Orlando Magic, who are 47-35. I'll start because I predicted the Magic to be here. No one else can say anything. I said they'd be here. Everyone called me crazy. Look at me now. But looking at it, this series is really hard to predict because these teams, I think, are very close. But I'm going to give that slight edge to Cleveland because Orlando just hasn't been there yet. They're a team that I think is going to be scary for years to come, and I could see them being the 2 seed next year in all reality.
Almost the 2 seed this year.
Yeah, I mean, in a few games. But I could definitely, I'm gonna say this series goes to 7, and I'm gonna get a slight edge to Cleveland because of experience.
That's around the same thought process I'm thinking right now. I think the Cavs take this in 6. The Magic don't have the star power to hang with Donovan Mitchell. I think Donovan Mitchell is easily the best player in this series.
And who's guarding Donovan Mitchell on the?
I mean, they have
probably Jalen Suggs.
Jalen
Suggs is a great defender, though.
I mean, the Magic have a very good defense. Don't get me wrong. I think they're actually ranked 1 or 2 in the league.
I think they're ranked 2. I think
defense.
Behind Boston.
But I mean, I still think I think the Cleveland's up there too with a front court of Mobley and Allen. Are you serious? Like that's enough. That's the good enough defense to hang with how good the Magic's defense is.
That's just the thing. I don't think there's any players that could rival a Mobley and Allen backcourt on the Magic. Obviously, Pablo, incredible player, but he just doesn't have the size to really rival them defensively.
No.
Offensively, I think he could eat up both of them when it comes to his speed and his ability to create. He reminds me of a young LeBron. Paulo does a lot. But when it comes defensively, I just Paulo's not going to be able to guard Evan Mobley and Jared Allen
not
when
in
it
the
comes
post,
in the post.
Yeah, in the post, no.
And I also think Evan Mobley shuts down Paulo too. I think Paulo's still going to probably average 16 or 17, but that's 5 points less of what he was averaging in the regular season. I think for the Magic or for the Cavs, this is the best matchup they probably could have gotten in the first round with your best player, with the Magic's best player being a power forward, having that elite defender in Evan Mobley that can guard the perimeter and the paint and the mid-range. I think this is cake for the Cavaliers.
Yeah, I think the Cavs pull this out in 7 too. I think the Magic win 3 games because of how good their defense is. I think their defense locks down Mitchell, Garland, Mobley, Allen for a couple of games in the series with how good their defense is. But I do think D-Mitch figures it out eventually. Darius Garland figures it out eventually. But something about the Magic not being the greatest offensive team, they have their spurts. Paolo can drop 30. Franz Wagner can drop like 25. But outside of those two, who are you really getting your other offensive production from? Wendell Carter? Goga Batadze?
Hey,
Jalen Suggs has his moments.
Markell Fultz is a good player.
Markell Fultz can average. Markell Fultz is good off the bench. Markell Fultz is great off the bench. But is he going to give you 20 a night?
Maybe not 20, but I think he
can give you like 14,
15.
Yeah. But I just don't think they have the offensive firepower, especially with how they match up with the Cavs, with their best player being a 4 and the Cavs' best defender being a 4. It just doesn't match up well for them, so I have the Cavs in 7.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I think if the Magic are going to win this series, I think it comes down to one man. I think that's Franz Wagner.
Franz Wagner has to go off because I think they'll probably have like Isaac Okoro on him, maybe. And Isaac Okoro's like 6'6". Franz Wagner's 6'10".
Mm-hmm. He's 6'10", a small forward. And, he's a guy who I think he averages, 22 this season or something near that.
Something like that.
But, if I could look for him averaging 25, 26 in this series, because I just don't think there's a matchup Cleveland can put on him that's necessarily going to be able to stop him.
No.
Like the guy you mentioned, he's a good defender. Don't get me wrong, but he's 4 inches shorter than him.
Yeah.
And Franz Wagner is just a phenomenal player when it comes to creating. And that's the only way I think Magic win this series, but I don't think they do.
No, I don't think they do.
But moving along now to the Western Conference here, and of course we've picked all these games, so we're going to start at the top. We've already referred to this joke a few times as the number 1 seeded Oklahoma City Thunder, who are 57-25, take on the number 8 seed New Orleans Pelicans, who ended the season 49-33. And well, I'm going to say it like this: I think the Thunder win in 5. I really like this matchup for the Thunder. The Thunder are just the better team for me. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander should be the MVP of the league. And I see no imagine where the Pelicans win, except if Zion just has some legacy series.
Yeah.
I think that is the only way, but I don't think that happens.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with the Thunder here too. And I know we picked the Pelicans, but even if they do face the Kings, I still think they beat the Kings as well. The Thunder are 2-1 against the Pelicans this season. Zion didn't play in one of those games, but the Thunder also won by 24. So I think that's good for them. If the Kings do meet up with the Pelicans, I think the Thunder if the Thunder meet up with the Kings, I still think the Thunder take that in 5 or 6. Thunder are 2-2 against the Kings in this one, but those 2 losses that they lost to the Kings in, the Kings had Malik Monk and Kevin Huerter. They don't have those guys anymore. The Thunder are 2-0 against the Kings whenever the Kings don't have those players. So either way, I think the Thunder take this first-round series. Like I said, with Zion being out the one game against the Thunder, they still won by 24. Zion is obviously probably going to miss 1 or 2 games in the series if they do win this play-in game.
The Thunder have too much firepower.
That's what I think. And
it's just as simple as that.
I think so. And I don't know. I just think the Thunder
in what,
like
though?
you said, too much for the Pelicans. I'm going to say the Thunder in 6.
It's Thunder in 6, giving the Pelicans 2 games.
I have Thunder in 5. I think Zion does create a matchup nightmare for the Thunder because I think they'll probably have like Lou Dort on them. Yeah. Lou Dort's big enough. He's just not. He's not tall enough.
I don't think there's anyone on the Thunder that can guard Zion. I don't. And
I don't think there is
either.
either.
Chet can. No,
he can't.
No, he can't.
No.
Zion, he's way too big. Like people underrate just how big he. I saw LeBron.
I will say, Chet can't guard Zion 1-on-1. But if Zion's driving and Chet meets him at the rim, that's getting sent back.
But if it's one-on-one defense and he's the man guarding Zion will fly past him.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
No.
All the time.
Even then, though, Chet's too lengthy. I still think he'll catch up to a block or two.
He'll get a block or two, but Zion is just way too big.
But
I saw
every time down the court, man.
I saw LeBron James trying to take a charge from Zion last night. He took the charge. That man was in pain on the floor. We're talking about LeBron James here, 6'8", 260. Took a charge from Zion and was on the floor in pain because of how big that man is.
Strongest men in the league, and if he figures out his weight,
apparently he lost 25 pounds since the Stephen A. Smith comments.
That's good for
Stephen
him.
A. Smith just need to dig in on him. That was Stephen A.'s goal, by the way, was to dig in his eyes so much that he plays better. And now look at him. He's at 40 points, 11 rebounds.
Hey, it worked. He dropped 25 pounds.
I want Zion to work out so bad.
Bad.
I think he's
so fun to watch.
He definitely has the upside to be a 30-point per game scorer.
Yeah, but I have Thunder in 5.
Yeah, Thunder. Yeah.
And everybody thinks OKC's a cakewalk just because they're the second youngest team in the league. It's like
no, they're the 1 seed for a reason.
They're the 1 seed.
They're the 1 seed for a reason. They've won as countless games against good teams.
Yeah.
But moving along now to a fun series here, the 2-seeded Denver Nuggets, the reigning, defending champions, 57-25, taking on LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers, who are 47-35. So this one is kind of hard to pick because as much as I like the Denver Nuggets as the reigning defending champions, there's a man out in Los Angeles who, in the playoffs, you can never really bet against him. But I'm going to. Give me Nuggets in 6. The Nuggets, they swept the Lakers last season. I think the Lakers are better than they were last year at this time. But the Nuggets have probably the guy who will win MVP in Nikola Jokic. And Jamal Murray in the playoffs, something else. I'm really interested to see if Michael Porter Jr. steps up again like he did last year in the playoffs because he was huge in that championship run. So I'm going to say he's going to be the difference. I think Michael Porter Jr. is going to be the difference for the Nuggets. And the Lakers, I mean, it's as simple as this. I think they can beat the Nuggets. We've seen it. They've been able to do it before. They did it whenever they won that bubble championship. This Nuggets team has been the same for a while, and the Lakers team has mostly been the same for a little bit too. I think it comes down to this. I think if D'Angelo Russell outplays Jamal Murray,
that's a big ask.
I think that the Lakers can win this series. But like you said, that's a really big ask.
That's a really big ask. I think he can outplay him in certain games, but a whole series, I don't know. D'Lo's been kind of inconsistent a lot of times this year.
He hasn't playing well, though, lately.
He hasn't playing well lately, but for me, I'm going to say, just like you said Nuggets in 6, right? I'm going to say Nuggets in 6. I think they're just too deep. Now, if I do know that, I don't know if Vanderbilt is out for the year for the Lakers.
He just hasn't been playing.
Huh?
The Vandalorian.
I'm pretty sure he's healthy.
No, he was out last night because I saw him in street clothes last night.
Really, he's out? Because I've been looking.
I think he has potential to come back late this year.
Him and Christian Wood were out. Him and Christian Wood play. Christian Wood's a very big piece for the Lakers off the bench, scoring wise. He's a good scorer. He's a really good scoring power forward / center off the bench. If they can come back, I can see the Lakers pushing it to 7, because especially how good Vando is as a defender. But I just think the Nuggets are way too deep, way too much offensive firepower.
By the way, though, if the Lakers do beat the Nuggets,
they're going to the championship.
They're going to the.
They're going to the championship.
They're 100% going to. They can figure it out how to beat the Nuggets. They can figure it out.
They can beat anybody.
I think LeBron gets 5 if they beat the Nuggets.
I think the Nuggets are still the best team in the West.
Yeah,
if they beat the best team in the West first series. Yeah,
it's LeBron. I think LeBron has 5 if.
Me too. I don't know if they beat the Celtics, but still.
I'm gonna say Denver. I'm gonna say Denver in 5.
Ooh, 5.
I think
I could
the Lakers. The Lakers are 0-3 against the Nuggets this season. Like Jackson said, I think this Lakers team right now is a little bit better than this Lakers team that met with them last year. But the Nuggets are also the Nuggets. They're the same team, basically.
They still got the MVP.
They still have the MVP. They still have playoff Jamal Murray. The playoff Jamal Murray, playoff Nikola Jokic duo is probably the best duo in
Man, they were just
sports
hitting some
right
crazy
now.
shots last year.
I mean, I just think the Nuggets are too much. The Nuggets, we've seen what they can do. Playoff Jokic, playoff Murray, Michael Porter Jr., a guy that can drop 20 a night as a third option. I mean, I think the Nuggets are just too strong for the Lakers, so I'm going to say Denver in 5. Although I will say I would not be surprised if the Lakers take this to 6 or 7.
I think the Lakers are the biggest threat to the Nuggets in this playoffs because just the Lakers have Anthony Davis and LeBron James. And whenever LeBron James and Anthony Davis are playing to the best of their ability, they're the 2 best players in the league. Whenever they're like 100% giving their all, because they don't do that for some reason, like half the season. And I'd really want to pick the Lakers because LeBron and AD, but Nuggets in 6. Moving along now to a really interesting series here as the 3-seeded Minnesota Timberwolves, who are 56-26, will be taking on the 6-seeded Phoenix Suns, who are 49-33. Jalen, I'll let you start on this one.
For me, I think it really just comes down to how deep and good this Timberwolves team is. First of all, I think they're number 1 defense in the league. If they're not number 1, they're number 2.
They're number 1.
They're by far.
Okay, they're number 1. Best defense in the league. Like Anthony Edwards once said, and Aidan already quoted this once. Well, he didn't quote the exact same quote. They might have KD, but we got Jaden McDaniels. Jaden McDaniels probably is a top 10 defender in the league. Perimeter defender in the league. Easily.
Probably the best matchup for KD.
For KD.
Honestly.
Lengthwise, oh my goodness, that dude has length for days. No diddy. Anthony Edwards on Devin Booker is probably one of the best matchups that you could have asked for in the league. That's going to be a prime time matchup.
Every game.
That's going to be score on score, and then you have Anthony Edwards is one of the best defenders in the league on Devin Booker, so it's really going to be a fun matchup. And then Bradley Beal, you never know what you're going to get from Bradley Beal. He can give you 25, he can give you 10. I don't know. He's not like he used to be. And then Rudy Gobert versus Nurkic. I have no idea who they are going to have guarding Cat. I have absolutely no idea because
they don't have anyone to guard Cat. Let's just be honest.
I guess they could put KD on him, but KD can't guard him. I guess they could probably put KD on Gobert and then put Nurkic on Cat. That's probably their best option.
I mean, yeah.
But even still, I'm going to go with Timberwolves in 6. No, 5. I'm going with Timberwolves in 5. I think the Timberwolves beat the Suns pretty easily.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of caddy off that. I'm going to say Wolves in 5. Because I think it comes down to this. I just think, 1, the T-Wolves are a better team, and 2, I don't think the Suns are that good. Their depth scares me. They don't have much depth. They went all in for Bradley Beal, who is not the same player as he once was. And I think it's as simple as that, like you just said. Who's guarding Karl-Anthony Towns? I don't know anyone. And also, if you're going to put Nurkic on Towns, who's guarding Rudy Gobert? Because even though he's not a good offensive player, put KD on Rudy Gobert and put Rudy Gobert on the block. And you still got to box him out. And Gobert's eating KD alive on the block every time.
For me, I'm going to go Suns in 6. I think, first of all, the Suns have swept the Timberwolves in the regular season this year. KD stepped up. Devin Booker stepped up. Bradley Beal has stepped up in those games. I just don't know how they're going to line up defensively, like you said. But I also think that this is one of the Suns are the biggest testers for this Minnesota defense. I think a player that's going to be very important in this series is Anthony Edwards. This year, he's shown that he's not necessarily great at showing up in clutch moments. I don't know how he's going to perform in the playoffs. I do think he'll play well. Just when there's a lot of weight on the line, I don't know how he'll perform. I just think the Suns have the Timberwolves number this year. There's just something that tells me that the Timberwolves aren't ready yet. I'm going to go with the Suns in 6.
Yeah, picking the Suns is, hey, KD might have a legacy series, but I haven't seen nothing from Kevin Durant that makes me at all think he is going to be a winning player without Steph Curry. He just hasn't done it.
Yeah.
Obviously that one year whenever he almost single-handedly beat the Bucks, the year Milwaukee went and won it all.
If he didn't have a 12-foot long
his foot's like 85 feet long, but just I don't know. Kevin Durant just hasn't been winning for me lately, and just this T-Wolves team, their defense is so good. And the Suns, whenever they can't buy a bucket, they're nothing.
Yeah, I think this is probably the worst matchup for the Suns.
Yeah, this is probably the least of the Suns would have rather played anyone else.
I think they'd rather play the Nuggets than the Suns.
They match up better versus the Nuggets than
the
T-Wolves. Even though the Suns, like Aidan said, have won multiple games this season versus the T-Wolves, I think give the Timberwolves a few games figured out. They have a young coaching staff. I think they'll do just fine. Moving along now to my most exciting game of my most exciting series in this first round here, and that's the 4th-seeded Los Angeles Clippers, who are 51-31, taking on the 5th-seeded Dallas Mavericks, who are 50-32. In this series, obviously these teams have played each other a few times in the playoffs. With these current rosters kind of built how they are, obviously Kyrie Irving wasn't in those games, but Luka Doncic has always had the number of the Los Angeles Clippers. He's always been their dad.
Yeah, he's the part owner behind Steve Ballmer.
Yeah, he is the part owner. But even though he's the part owner, I think he's going to lose in this series. I'm going to say the Clippers in 7 because I think there's going to be one thing that comes down to it. I think this is the last hurrah for this Los Angeles Clippers team. I think this is it. I think this is their final ride with this current team before they blow it up. I think if the Clippers lose in this game, this series, I think Paul George is on a flight back to Indiana. And I think James Harden could move on as well. He's a free agent too. So 2 guys are free agents, and just when you think of playoffs, there's one guy you think of that's in this series, and his name's Kawhi Leonard. We've seen him single-handedly take a team to the playoffs and to the finals and win it. And he's played, I believe, over 70 games this season. I think 72 is what he finished with or something near there.
Somewhere near there.
He's played healthy all season, and he's been pretty solid. I think I'm going to take Clippers in 6 because I think Kawhi Leonard is just such an X factor, and I think Leonard on Luka is just – I think that's a really good matchup. I do think Kyrie Irving can be a big player in this series, but the Clippers have Paul George, another phenomenal defender. And who else is going to step up for the Mavericks whenever they need it most?
Tim Hardaway Jr.
Yeah, that's my answer. So yeah, give me Clippers in 6.
You know what? I'm going to go Mavs in 7 because unlike Jacksen White over here, I think Tim Hardaway Jr. will show up. I think he will be an X factor for this team.
Tim Hardaway Jr. was an X factor for teams 6 years ago. He's past his prime.
he was a good player when Luka beat the Clippers the first time in the bubble.
Yeah, he actually played.
He played really well, and I think he'll do it again.
So you say Mavericks in 7?
I'm saying Mavs in 7. If the Mavs get to 7 games, I think the Mavs win.
Well, I mean I have them going in 7 too, but
I have the Clippers in 7. I think the star power on this Clippers team is just way too much for the Mavericks to handle.
I agree.
When you have Kawhi and Paul George and James Harden on the same team, obviously James Harden's going to have his maybe 1 or 2 games in the series where he shoots 20% from 3. But Kawhi is the best. I'm not going to lie. Okay, this might be a crazy take.
Oh,
here
comes the
in
blazing.
a second.
Here we go.
Kawhi Leonard might be the best player to have on your team in a playoff series in the league.
It's not that crazy of a take.
He's definitely up there. I don't know if
he's definitely up there.
I don't know if he's
his
the best.
ability to drop 25 points per game in a playoff series while playing the best defense, arguably in the league, you don't get that with any other player in the league. I think Kawhi is up there for he's probably the best two-way player in the league, other than maybe Shea. Paul George is up there too, and like I said, just right there, Paul George is up there for another best two-way player in the league. They have 2 of the best two-way players in the league. The LA plays defense. The Dallas Mavericks struggle on defense. I think the Clippers, it's going to be a great series. Don't get me wrong. Luka's going to have his games where he drops 40. Kawhi's going to drop his games where he drops 30. Paul George might drop a 30 bomb here and there. I just think the Clippers are too much offensively and defensively for the Mavs, and for that reason, I'm going to take the Clippers in 7 in this one.
Well, there's one player in this series you guys have yet to mention. A future Hall of Famer.
Norman Powell.
Mr. He is not a Hall of Famer.
No,
Mr. Triple-Double.
Player. You even talk about Westbrook.
Russell Westbrook, your favorite player ever. You didn't even mention him. I think he's the X factor in this series for one thing. I don't think there's anyone on the bench of the Dallas Mavericks that can guard Russell Westbrook.
Jaden Hardy.
Huh. Yeah, it's funny. But Russell Westbrook in this series, I could see him averaging 20. I still think he's one of those guys that can go out and get 20 on any given night when he has the ball.
I agree. And here's an interesting metric, too. The LA Clippers were in contention of the first seed in the West until Russ went out with that hand injury. He returns. The Clippers finish the season 12-3 with Russell Westbrook.
Russell Westbrook off the bench for the Clippers is deadly.
Oh, yeah, it is.
And that's another thing. Tim Hardaway is the best Dallas Mavericks player coming off the bench compared to Russell Westbrook and an MVP.
Starting?
No, Hardaway doesn't start.
Oh, he comes off the bench.
I don't know. I just think the Clippers just have I think they just do everything better. Obviously, Luka is going to be the best player in the series. He's arguably the best player in the league.
Yeah.
But the Clippers have the all-around depth, the all-around defensive and offensive abilities to shut this Mavs team down. It'll still be a close series, but I just don't see the Mavs taking this one from the Clippers.
And that's why I say if the Clippers lose this series with all the star power they have on this roster, I think they're done.
I think Paul George is out.
I think Paul George is flying back to Indiana.
Yep, buying his house back.
Buying his old house back. Where was it at?
I don't know where it was at. I know it was on the lake.
It was on a lake. I remember it was on a lake.
It was on a lake. I remember that.
I remember that, but somewhere pretty close to here. But Paul George, I think he's on his way back to Indiana if they lose this series. I fully,
think so,
wholeheartedly believe that. And I believe that James Harden's probably gone. And I mean, I don't know. It's just the Clippers are so old. They have to win now because all they're going to do is get older.
Yeah.
And I like Russell Westbrook a lot. But is he going to be the same player next season? I don't know.
Probably not.
Because his athleticism is what makes him great.
He'll hang around the realm,
but he won't be the same player I think he is right now.
No.
And he's on a digress.
Yeah.
He's still a good player and probably would start on 29 to 32 teams.
Yeah.
Not 29, but 20 of 32 teams whenever. If put drama aside, I think talent-wise, he starts on 20 of 32 teams. But, yeah. That is our playoff picks, and a lot of, let's safe to say, a lot of the same picks we did. We just disagree on a few things, but it's definitely going to be interesting. All those games and picks, by the way, we documented them to bring it back and look back and see how smart or dumb we were next week. But our ending segment here today is going to be, of course, an NBA start, bench, and cut. Let's get right into it. NBA start, bench, and cut point guard edition. Tyrese Haliburton, Damian Lillard, and Jalen Brunson.
This is such a tough one. I think there's a clear, I want to say clear start, but I think there is a guy that is a little just steps ahead of the other two guys on this list. He's averaging 33 points per game in the last month of the season. He's the reason why his team is the 2 seed in the East right now. Give me Jalen Brunson to start this off. I'm going to sit Tyrese Haliburton. I'm benching him. He was phenomenal. You could argue he was a top 3-point guard in the league in those first few months of the season. Obviously, he had that hamstring injury, which was unfortunate. Kind of took a digress from there. I just think he's not the same player that we saw in the in-season tournament era. So I think he kind of fell off a little bit while Jalen Brunson kind of, rose up towards the end of the season. And then I'm cutting Damian Lillard. He's had his worst season probably in a long time. And he is not exceeding expectations or even meeting expectations for the Bucks this season.
Yeah, for me, if you asked me a couple months ago, I would have had Haliburton starting. But Jalen Brunson surpassed him over the past couple months. So we're going to start Jalen Brunson, benching Tyrese Haliburton. He's leagues and bounds above Damian Lillard right now. And then we're cutting Damian Lillard. He just hasn't been the same player since leaving Portland.
Well, as I say in almost every one of these videos, I want to be different. And I'm going to say start Tyrese Haliburton because of one thing. Tyrese Haliburton, pre-injury, was averaging 26 and 12.5. Mm-hmm. And that is unheard of. No one's ever done it before. So I think pre-injury, I think right now he's playing hurt. I think Tyrese Haliburton is playing hurt right now. And that is causing his stats to decline. He's still giving you about 20 and 11 every night. And obviously, he's kind of been bouncing iffy with shooting lately. But I still think he's the best player out of these bunch. There's a reason that he was picked over Jalen Brunson on Team USA, is because he is the best passer in the league. And whenever his shot is on, I think he is one of the best three-point shooters as well. And then that caddies into my bench. I'm going to say bench Jalen Brunson. Like you said, he's been averaging 33 in the past month. He is a phenomenal offensive player. Defensively, he's all right. One thing about Jalen Brunson is he's only 6'1", and that's kind of the difference between Haliburton because he is 6'5". So that just has something to do with it with me. If I'm picking a point guard to play on my team, I'm picking Haliburton over Brunson every time because he facilitates the ball and passes around way more than Brunson and can go get his shot almost at the same as Brunson when needs to. But Brunson is the better offensive player. Let me get that out of the way. And then bench Damian Lillard. If this is a few years ago, Damian Lillard, he's probably starting on this list. He was phenomenal in Portland, but now in Milwaukee, he's not the same player he once was, not at all. And I think we're going to see that in this playoff series with Indiana-Milwaukee, who the true Damian Lillard really is. But that's going to be my cut. Now moving along now to our second start bench cut. And this one's just going to be kind of stars who kind of score a lot of points. To say, so here we go. Start bench cut, Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Stephen Curry.
For me, I gotta start Luka Doncic. He's arguably been the best player in the league this year. It's really been Jokic, Shai, then him, or even Jokic, him, then Shai, however you want to put it. But he's just too consistent offensively. He can pass with the best of them. Mm-hmm. He's on triple-double watch every game.
He's on 50-point watch.
He's on 50-point watch. I mean, what did he drop against the Hawks? 70-something?
73.
73? Like, come on now.
Well, hey, the Hawks, they couldn't guard a stick.
Well, that's true.
But
so I'm going to start Luka benching SGA. The things that he does on offense and on defense are leagues and bounds above what Steph Curry's doing right now. I just think he's way too consistent on offense. That mid-range jumper.
My whole life is consistent.
My whole life is consistent. He's the mid-range jumper. He's probably a top 3 mid-range jump shot shooter in the league. And on defense, he's one of the best guard defensive players in the league. And then I got to cut Steph Curry. He's just not the same. He's not the same. He's still great. Still a top 3-point guard. Top 4. But he's just not the same as he used to be. I'm cutting Steph Curry.
This is such a tough one. I think I'm trying to put my bias aside here because I am an OKC fan, but here's what I have to say to this. 25-year-olds don't lead their team to the first team in the Western Conference. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has done just that as a 25-year-old on the second youngest team in the league while being the most consistent player offensively and defensively.
He'll always get his 30.
He'll always get his 31-point merchant. I've never seen someone flamed for being good, which is crazy. I don't know. I think the way that he's taken over this year as he's leveled up to probably a superstar this season. He's probably going to get his first team All-NBA yet again. And just the way that he led a 10 seed last year to a 1 seed this year is unheard of. Second, with my bench, it's obviously going to be Luka. SGA and Luka are on the same level. You really can't put those as a 1 and 2. I think it's 1A, 1B, either or. But Luka, as you said, triple-double watch every night, 50-point watch every night. He can do everything. I just think SGA is a little bit better than him. I'm not going to say a little. I'm going to say he's a lot better than him on defense, which is why I would have SGA over Luka. But the way Luka plays, team basketball, leads his team, it's unbelievable. I mean, this is, I think we forget how good Prime Westbrook was, and he's putting up those numbers that Prime Westbrook was putting up. So he's going to be my bench. The only reason I have him under SGA is because he's the 5 seed. Steph, he's the only one not playing in the playoffs. That should tell us enough. Obviously, didn't have one of his best years, and I think SGA and Luka are unfortunately taking over him as younger players. I think Steph is probably past that prime, and I think this start bench cut right here kind of shows that the new era of basketball is starting to take over the league. So start SGA, bench Luka, cut Steph.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of have to agree with Jalen here. I'm going to say start Luka Doncic. Even though SGA, I would agree with you, Aidan, is a phenomenal defender. I mean, he's the best defender on this list by far. But when it comes down to it, comes down to the best players in the world, even though I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is my MVP this season because what he's done with the Thunder, this is just a start bench cut of players, not teams. And Luka Doncic is the best player on this list, probably by a little bit of a margin. Doncic, like you said, I mean, he can go get 50 almost any night he wants. He's probably a top 3 passer in the league, and he's probably a top 10 rebounder in the league. He's on triple-double watch every night, like all of us have said. I'm going to say start Doncic. Then I'm going to bench, say, Gilgeous-Alexander. Alexander, obviously, he's averaging, I believe, 31 this season because he gets that every single game. And he's really good on defense. Like, you don't even understand how good he is on defense. I mean, he's just phenomenal. He gets steals. He occasionally gets blocks, too.
I think he's actually averaging a block a game.
Like a whole block a game as a point guard is crazy if he is, but he still gets the occasional block. And I think he's close to 2 steals.
Yeah, he's averaging 0.9 blocks per game.
And how many steals?
2.2.
Yeah, he's averaging 2. So 2 steals, really good defender. And then my cut, sadly, I'm going to have to say this, is going to be Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry is just a step below these guys. And it's kind of like this. The McQueen is fading type of meme that everyone has from Cars 3. I think that's happening right now with Stephen Curry and all these young guys like Shai and Luka. Because Stephen Curry's time, he's 36 years old. His time of being the best point guard in the league and the elite of the elite is over. He's still a top 15 player in the league, but I think his time of being a top 5 player is gone. And I would say Luka Doncic and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander are both the top 5 players in the league. So for me, I'm going to say start Doncic, bench SGA, and then cut Stephen Curry. And finally, our final NBA start, bench, and cut. This one's going to be a good one, shooting guard edition. Start, bench, cut, Anthony Edwards, Jalen Brown, and Donovan Mitchell.
God.
And for me, well, I think it almost goes in the order I gave it as. Anthony Edwards, to me, is the clear-cut start here because Anthony Edwards is a really good defender. Okay, he's on the best defensive team in the league. Obviously, that's just not all him. They have a lot of good defenders over there in Minnesota. But Anthony Edwards, I think when his career's all said and done, if he can go out and win a few championships, can be a top 3 shooting guard in the league. I think he has the talent. He's a really good three-point shooter, and I don't think there's anyone better at attacking the rim than him when it comes to rising above the rim. So I'm going to say start Anthony Edwards. And then the bench is a little bit hard for me, But I'm going to have to say bench Jalen Brown for the sole reason of he's just a better defender than Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell is 6'2", 6'3", and that's always hurt him because he's the size of a point guard, and he's not a point guard. Jalen Brown is like 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", and he's averaging 27 points as the second option on an MVP team. So that just, to me, tells me everything I need to know. Jalen Brown, a really good player. Obviously, he has some left-hand issues, but his right hand is better than most other players in the NBA. I'm going to say bench Jalen Brown. I'm going to cut Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell still is a top 20 player in this league, I think, and he's the best player on his team. But those two names before, I think, are better than Donovan Mitchell. And I think Donovan Mitchell's going to have to show us something in this playoff series to kind of advance over those two names I mentioned before.
I'm going to start Jalen Brown on this list. I think if you hand Jalen Brown Anthony Edwards' role on the Timberwolves, I think he's averaging just south of 30 maybe. I think we're forgetting Jalen Brown's averaging 27 points per game as the second option behind a MVP-level superstar in Jason Tatum, being top 5 in MVP voting. I think if you swap roles with Edwards, I think Brown is better than him, and I still think he's better than him now. Obviously, he probably has better defense than Edwards too. With that being said, I'm going to bench Edwards. I think Edwards is just right there with Jalen Brown. I think we've just seen a little bit more from Jalen Brown than Anthony Edwards. That's my reasoning behind that. And then Donovan Mitchell, do not get me wrong. He's a fantastic player. I just don't think he matches up well defensively as these guys here. I think Donovan Mitchell is probably one of the better scorers on this list, but I don't know. I think Mitchell is a little bit worse on defense than these two players right here.
So for me, I think I'm going to start Anthony Edwards again. I think he is the best shooting guard in the league. Offensively and defensively, he clears both of these guys. I just don't think that Jalen Brown has as much of a bag as Anthony Edwards. I think he's a good scorer offensively. But the way Anthony Edwards has really evolved his game over the past couple of years has really been something to see. I mean, coming in, we all knew he could score. But the way he's improved his three-point shooting, his mid-range shooting, his finishing, it's really just been a sight to see. Now, between Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brown, I couldn't really come up with who to pick. So I'm going to base it, since we're in the playoffs, I'm going to go off of playoff stats, career playoff stats.
Okay.
Donovan Mitchell averages 28 points in the playoffs on almost 50, 40, 90.
Okay.
Jalen Brown averages 18 points in the playoffs, shooting 36%, 74% from the free throw line, and 57% from the field.
Ugh.
And for that reason,
57% from the field.
Yeah.
That's crazy good.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
No, that's good, but everything else.
Everything else is pretty bad.
What do you shoot from 3?
33.
That's average.
But 74% from the foul line is bad.
And only shooting 18%.
57% from the field, though. That's
No,
insane.
74% from the foul line.
Yeah, no, that's bad. But
oh, never mind. Field goal percentage was 47%. My bad.
That makes way
okay.
sense.
He's shooting 47% from the field, 33% from 3, and 74% from the.
Okay, that makes it a little bit better.
And just from that reason alone, I'm taking Donovan Mitchell because of how good he's been. We know how good Donovan Mitchell is.
Playoff Donovan Mitchell is something.
Playoff Donovan Mitchell is very good. Jalen Brown, him and Jason Tatum have been known for the past couple of years of being. At least Jason Tatum's been bad in the clutch. Jalen Brown's just been bad in the playoffs. And for that reason alone, I'm going to take Donovan Mitchell over Jalen Brown. So start Anthony Edwards, bench Donovan Mitchell, cut Jalen Brown.
Yeah, and I think that's their picks. But that basically wraps up episode 22. Make sure to follow us on all social medias at Roll the Tape Sports. And, of course, daily TikTok and Instagram Reels coming out almost every single day. And hey, go search the page. We're having some issues with getting on the For You page on TikTok. I don't know why. But hey, search us up and check out our videos, daily stuff. Aidan just dropped a video today about talking about the Philadelphia 76ers. So that will be when you see this yesterday, but go check it out. Probably new videos out Thursday as well. But as always, it's been fun. Episode 22 in the books, and until next time.
Yes, sir.
See you.